What's going on, everybody? Today I wanted to do a deconstruction of my track Free, which is available on all streaming platforms. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Started with this plugin. It's called Electric Mint Session Guitars. So here's what we came up with. The next synthesizer I used is the DCO 106. It's a Juno 106 emulation plugin. It's a very good plugin in my opinion. Here's what we got for that. We just have this EQ kind of boosting 1.3K. The notes in the verse melody are basically just arpeggios of the guitar chords from earlier. The drum arrangement is really simple in this verse. We have this basic kick. It's just a very subby kick. Sounds like that. This is a snare I made from layering two snares together. And it kind of plays this simple pattern. So obviously you want to change up the pattern later on in the verse. So I added in this little hi-hat here. All I did was I alternated the velocity here between high and low. I added this sort of trunk snare. I wanted to give the snare a little bit more punch. The last thing in the verse is this bass. The Ample P bass, it is an amazing bass. It sounds awesome on its own. So now let's move on to the chorus. This is an Analog Lab preset. It's a brass preset of some sorts. I think it's called Classic Brass. There you go. So there's these kind of big chords. It fits the 80s vibe absolutely perfectly. I put a crystalline, it's a digital reverb, and it has this freeze option right here. So if I were to play the chords, so you hear this little tail here, not so little, actually it has a lot of energy here, but this tail here is what I used to make this little twinkle sound. So I froze the reverb, I exported this, I recorded this, I exported it, and then I pitched it up an octave, and that's how we got that angelic sound. We did this for every single chord in the chorus. Next up, let's talk about the melodies. There are two different main melodies in this chorus. This twinkly melody is just some sort of serum patch I found. And then lastly, to finish off the chorus and create this conclusive feel, we have this arpeggio. It only really has this crystalline reverb, which is it's a relatively big size. It's not really wide. So the bass in this song is composed of three different elements. Now the most important part to really talk about with the bass is the chorus. We are splitting up the sub bass and the pluck bass into low and high frequencies with a frequency splitter. The low end gets sent to the low mono, and then we are putting these guys into mono. For to listen to it. That mono channel is being sent to the bass bus. The bass bus gets all of the bass and then sends it to the master. The reason I have a bass bus is so that I can compress all of the bass whenever the kick hits. Here is what the compression is going to look like on the bass. Let's talk about the drums. The snare in the song has this really cool crystalline reverb, and it sounds a little bit like this. In this song, there are two kicks. In the verse, we only use the sub kick, and we have an EQ that turns on during the chorus to allow for the chorus kick to do the high end work. They sound like this together. The two kicks work really well together because they fill in the places where one is lacking. So you have a much fuller sound in the chorus and a little bit more of a subby, boomy sound in the verse, which is a nice little contrast. We also have these little claps that come in with reverb. Sounds like this. Then we have the tambourine and the hi-hat, which kind of play together. I panned out the hi-hat and the tambourine to the left and to the right so that they sound kind of separate and as their own individual parts. Pretty much all of the elements, unless they're special drum elements, they're all being sent to this one drum bus. The drum bus has tape, which is a tape emulator from Baby Audio. The saturation is kind of subtle, so I like that. Then we're using Neutron to compress and doing some transient shaping. Here's an A-B comparison of what everything sounds like. The second verse is quite like the first one. The only difference is this melody that comes in, and it sounds like this. In the pre-chorus from verse 2 to chorus 2, we have this little instrumental piece, which is just using the bass in the chorus from earlier and the chords from the chorus and earlier, and it's just playing this different pattern. I also use the melody from earlier in verse 2 to fill in the space during this part. So if we were to listen to all of this together, it sounds like this. I also made some chords with the brass that we used in the previous chorus. I made some chords. Now let's talk about the guitars. TDR Nova compressor, very simple. Then we have a little bit of EQ taking out the low end and smooth operator to take us some harsher resonances. And here's what it sounds like with all of the goodies on it. Listening to this out of context sounds kind of weird. In context, it has its place. With effects. There's two little harmonies that come in for the guitars to kind of make the second part of the bridge more interesting. They sound like this. Those guitars went through the same processing as the main melody guitar. And then in the last chorus, we have this extra guitar melody that, once again, same processing. There are various transitions, risers, swells, falls in this song, and I will rapid fire you some examples right now. Let's talk about the main vocal. The main vocal kind of goes through an EQ, another EQ, some de-essing. So this EQ is a slow shelf. We have a high pass. We have some compression going on, about 3 dB. RVox to bring up the level even more to give it more compression. Then we have some tape, giving us some of that saturation. We have some fresh air giving us some of the high end. CLA 2A to bring up the level even more. So we have like 3 compressors on this chain. This is a different chain, but the idea is kind of similar. And then we have this reverb send where we have a crystalline, no ducker because the fruity limiter is doing the side chain to the lead vocal. We have the crystalline at 100% wet. We also have this delay, which also gets automated. It's a very low level. Has some reverb coming in, Valhalla delay. It is a send, and we're going to automate it throughout the song, especially on the hook part of the song, the free part, which sounds like this. Free! I will be dropping the acapella as well as the instrumental in about a week, probably next Friday or something like that. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys want to hear the separate, just the vocals and just the instrumental, they're going to be dropped separately. So if you're interested, you can go and you can have a listen to that. The ad-libs have been heavily auto-tuned. It's kind of for the creative effect, so that's why I did it. Yeah, I'm going alone. Here is another one. Yeah, I tried. I thought this way. Within the greater context of the entire song, they're kind of in the back, they're kind of doing their own thing, and they're filling in for the feeling of the song. So yeah, they sound really auto-tuney here, and you were like, what the hell? I didn't even hear this, but at the same time, they're not that loud, they're quiet, they're in the back, and they're doing the right thing. Next, we should talk about the I Am Free ad-libs, which come in at the end of every single chorus and in the bridge. They sound like this. I am free. The only other big thing to mention is that the ad-libs get form and shifted in the bridge by 3 semitones, which is why they sound a little bit deeper. It sounds like this. I am free. I am free. Probably the most fun ad-lib in the entire song. Next we got the harmonies, and they are being panned left and right. This is what they sound like. Just don't let go. I need that spark. I can't keep it out of mind, so I'll give my all. Let me know if you would like to see more videos that are going into detail on some of these parts, and if you want to see more breakdowns into the future whenever I release new music, which hopefully will be soon. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. And if you want to listen to the entire song on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever your platform is, it's going to be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you can go out there and make your own amazing music. 'Cause with you, I am free.